Respect and honor, beautiful souls. I am back talking about finances and financial matters. And today we're talking about blue chips, greenhouses, and red hotels. Blue chips, greenhouses, and red hotels. The game of Monopoly in real life. We have to begin to understand the spiritual side of money. But in order to understand the spiritual side of money, you have to understand this world system's way of earning money, keeping money, and growing money. Money is energy. Before it is anything else, it's energy. That's why it's called currency. And currency is designed to move. It's designed to flow. And so there will always be an ebb and a flow, a coming in and going out of currency. It's always going to be fluid. And the more you understand that, the deeper you understand that at a very basic elementary level, the better off you'll be financially. What does that mean? Ask yourself, what do you want from your money? What do you want from your money? What do you want from your money? This is going to be a short talk. I just want to finish up from the last podcast where I talked about enlarging your coast, enlarging your territory. And I ended that talk on, the importance of real estate and the importance of investing in your own home. And so I'm just going to kind of piggyback on that topic and expound upon it and expand on it. We have to see how our pasts hold the key to our financial future. Understanding how the environment and the family and the habits that you have always been accustomed to, how they've molded you and grown you into who you are, and the attitudes and ideas you have about money and wealth building and finances and savings and things of that nature. We have to face our fears and create new truths, because oftentimes we carry along these ideas like, saying concepts and saying phrases like I'm broke. If you say that enough and you're always thinking that, or even if you're just joking, it becomes a part of who you are. It becomes a part of your psyche. It becomes a part of your being, if you will. And so you have to carry yourself with confidence as though you are already wealthy and you command respect and you command favor and authority. And then that will become a part of your reality and part of your being. We must be honest with ourselves. We have to stop lying to ourselves. And the fact of the matter is, many of us really don't know the ins and outs about wealth and finance the way we should. And, I've said it before, I say it all the time. We major on minor things and we minor on the major things. And so often we get caught up and arguing and debating on things that really have no bearing on our reality and no bearing on our lives, when that time can be invested in educating ourselves and learning about things that are actually going to benefit you and benefit your children and your children's children and benefit your family, and educate yourself in ways that will enable you to give back to your community and build your community and actually be a person of value and not just another statistic or another person who, lived, died, and left broke. You want to learn to Educate yourself about these ideas, blue chips, green houses, and red hotels, so that you can leave a hellified legacy. That's what we're talking about today. So let's get into this. We have to be open to receive all that we're meant to have, because you're meant to have a lot. And if you don't know that, I'm here to tell you that you're meant to have more than just a slice of the pie. You're meant to have a whole pie yourself. And that refers to any and each and every one who hears my voice right now. If you're hearing my voice right now, I'm speaking to you. I don't care where you're from. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what your nationality is. I don't care what your ethnicity is. I don't care if you call yourself a Moor or a Muslim or a Christian or a Buddhist. I don't care if you're atheist. I don't care if you're tall, flat, short, fat. I don't care if whatever you label yourself as. You deserve more. And only you can make yourself financially free. And you can make yourself financially free. That's what blue chips, greenhouses, and red hotels is about. Making yourself financially free and independent. First things first, savings. Little savings turn into big savings when they're invested, over a period of time. And that's where we get the concept of compound interest. Compounding simply means, here's a simple level of compounded savings, just on a basic level. If you took each week, so say every Sunday, you took some money and you put it in a sock, or you put it in a box, or you put it in a bank account. And you start out at the beginning of the year. So the first week of the year, you put $1 in. And then the second week, you put in $2. And then the third week, you put in $3. And then the fourth week, so on and so forth, right? So by the time you get to the 52nd week, 52 weeks, right? Then you would be putting in $52. Now, mind you, each week, you're compounding, and look at how much money you would have saved over the course of that year. And so that's just an idea of seeing how your money, saving it in a compound stacked sort of way, can land you a nice little lump sum in the end. That's just a basic level. When you start to get into the more elegant, more sophisticated ways of compounded interest, you're getting into, putting your money into interest-bearing accounts. And I'm going to touch on that in just a second, but I got some ground to cover before I arrive there. The reason why I talk about savings is because you have to know how to save money so that you can have money to invest when it's time to invest. How many times have you gone to the mall and, when you have the money, you don't really see anything you like, so you buy something anyway, or you say, I'll wait till I see what it is that I really wanted. But if you're spending your money all the time on things that you really don't need, then when it's time to really buy something that you need or really, really want, you won't have the money there to purchase it. And so that's the importance of savings. I'm not talking about, stop buying Starbucks Frappuccinos every day so that you can save and retire on that. I mean, sure, if you want to save that $4 or $5 a day, that's intelligent. That's definitely intelligent. But what are you doing with those savings is what's more paramount. So let's talk about some ways to save and be prepared to buy up the board, if you will, because we're talking about monopoly in real life. So for instance, stop buying shit you don't need. Stop buying shit you don't need. If you don't need it, don't buy buy it. Now, if you're balling out of control and you're rich and you have it like that, then by all means, do what it is you want to do. But I'm talking to the people who want to really learn about blue chips, greenhouses, and red hotels, and how to play Monopoly in real life. People who want to be financially independent and financially free in this lifetime, not when you're 70 years old and you're on a cane, and no, now, within the next year or 2 or 10. Stop eating out so much. Just these little simple things save so much money. And it's not only that, case in point, eating out at a restaurant every single day, day in and day out, not only is it unhealthy, because food that's, cooked at a restaurant, it tastes delicious, but it's loaded with salt, it's loaded with sugar, it's loaded with fat, and it's a lot healthier if you would go get your groceries, go to a farmer's market, get healthy, organic food that you can prepare with your family, prepare it at home. It stretches a lot longer, it's healthier for you, and you're saving money. So in the time you go to, say, a Red Lobster or even a McDonald's, and let's say you spend $15 or $20 on a meal or two, and you eat for that one meal, maybe you have leftovers, but that's it, right? Whereas if you go to the grocery store, the farmer's market, and you get $15 to $25 worth of groceries, that's going to be a couple of meals. You can cook a meal that's going to, feed more people or last longer. And you saw what went into preparing that meal is healthier, and you saved, on the money that you wouldn't have had to spend on more meals, if you will. Do you follow me? So stop buying shit you don't need and stop eating out so much. That's a way to save money. So instead of, spending $100 or $200 a week on eating out, cut that in half and spend $100 on groceries and prepare your food at home, take lunches to work, take lunches to school, what have you. Create your own little snacks, brew your own coffee. You don't have to have Starbucks every morning. Brew your own Starbucks, make your own smoothies and things like that. And then that other $100 or $150 that you would have been spending, start to invest that now. Save that, put that cash to the side, because we're going to want to use this later to buy up some blue chips, blue chips, greenhouses, and red hotels. Okay, stay with me. I'm getting there. Now, in the game of Monopoly, the point of the game, and I love Monopoly. I play Monopoly a lot with my family, and I always win. And everyone says, how do you always win? My son, it just burns him up. He's been trying to beat me for years. I mean, he used to cry, and I would just be merciless. Just, oh, well, sorry, let me just take all your money. But the game of Monopoly, the reason why I win in this game is because I've learned and understood the strategy to succeed. And it's so funny because the strategies in Monopoly and the strategies that you use to win in Monopoly, you can use those same strategies in real life, in your life, and actually become financially independent and free. And not only that, but become a tycoon, become a mogul, become a true boss, to be someone who builds an empire and leaves a legacy. And you can do things like build schools in your communities and build community centers and build up the parks and boys and girls clubs in your neighborhood. And you can invest and give people money and send people to college and university and things like that. That's how you become a person of value. And it's unique in a way that no other way can do it. So in the game of Monopoly, the point of the game is to own as much property, railroads, utility companies, and still have the most money from all of your competition, and you thereby bankrupt your competition. Now, the game is an old game. It came out, I think, it came out in the when did Monopoly come out? The 30s or the 40s? maybe the 50s. But the point of monopoly is to own as much as you can on that board. And so instead of, in real life trying to buy utility companies and railroads and things like that, you still would try to monopolize. But in modern day terms, this would be similar to Microsoft. Microsoft has a monopoly. And why does it have a monopoly? It has a monopoly because most computers, if you buy a regular, and I know it's changing a little bit because, they sued Microsoft because they were a monopoly. But for a long time, when you went to buy a regular personal computer, it automatically had Microsoft loaded onto the computer. And it's not fair. And the only way you couldn't get a computer with Microsoft on it was to go ahead and invest in an Apple. Okay. But for most people who aren't all that tech savvy, they just go buy a laptop or go buy a personal computer or, desktop computer and go ahead and get that Microsoft already on it. Well, Microsoft is making money every time somebody buys a computer. So they were monopolizing that industry. When you think of monopolies, you think of companies like Comcast or AT&T, even Yahoo. For a long time, Yahoo was buying up all of its competitors. And so instead of competing with you, I'll just buy you. So that way I don't have to worry about you. Now I own you. So the big boys, instead of competing and fighting with each other, the big bank takes little bank. Okay. And that's what blue chips, greenhouses, and red hotels is all about, is about big bank taking little bank. But before you can become big bank, you have to learn how to get in the game and start to own property and have ownership in companies. Modern day venture capitalists or VCs, investors, with their money, they'll cash out. So say, they start out with a company like a Facebook or, some company they came up with. They'll sell that company to the big bank company who says, hey, I don't want to compete with you. I like what you're doing. I'm going to offer you, $5 billion for your company. And so, if that's your company, you say, I could live with $5 billion. You take that $5 billion and now you become an angel investor or a venture capitalist where you now take your money and you invest in other smaller companies. And now you own pieces of all these little companies. And so when those companies cash in and do well, you get checks in the mail. And so that's how you play Monopoly in real life. But I'm going to get you there to that level in just a second. Stay with me. We got more ground to cover. So we can learn to do what these companies do on a personal level to get financially independent and thereby win the game of Monopoly in real life. That's the point. So first you have to get in the game. Even if you learn very little or, even if you earn very little, learn this. You can learn not to waste the little that you do have. So that means even if you have a very humble, meager existence, you don't make very much money, and let's just say that, with the little bit of money that you do have coming in, so much is taken out and you're like, I can't realistically see myself. And that's, first of all, that's a problem. Don't think that, I only make X amount of dollars a month. If that, your money may be where you can't determine how much money you're going to make each month. Let's say you own your own business or, service that you provide, and some months are better than others. It may be feast or famine. Some months are wonderful. Other months are meager. Well, you have to begin to see yourself as someone who can potentially invest in blue chip stocks and own greenhouses on Park Place and Boardwalk and Tennessee Ave and own railroads and own, or at least own shares in companies like Comcast and Yahoo and Microsoft and Facebook, things of that nature. See yourself as that type of man or woman, as an investor, as a venture capitalist, as someone who you don't have to get up every day and go work for someone that you don't necessarily want to work for if that's not what you want to do. So you have to see that already. You have to start to change the way you see yourself and the way you see the world, your outlook. Instead of looking at these companies as, oh, that's the big bad wolf and these bankers. Well, we'll get to that in just a second. But instead of saying, these multinationals, F them, they don't care about the people, and we're broke and we're weak and we're hungry. Stop seeing yourself as a victim and get in the game. So not only can you flourish and prosper, but you can now compete with those companies. Don't see yourself as the David to these Goliaths all the time. See yourself as a Goliath competing with other giants. Not necessarily a Goliath that's attacking this small guy, but see yourself as a Goliath or giant to go into these communities and build up the schools, build up the community centers, build up the parks, build up the old neighborhoods that have the broken down buildings and things. Learn how to get money so you can go into those communities and beautify them. Okay? So then you don't have to worry about other people doing it. If you're doing it, you can expand your vision. So a very small thing you can learn to start doing right now. This is for those who, you're on a meager level. You feel like you have little money coming in and you have to work with that. Carry cash and use a budget. That means very old school. It doesn't have to be sophisticated. You don't need an app. You don't need a computer program. Sit down with a piece of paper and say, this is how much money I have coming in. If all you have is one job, say, okay, I get paid every 2 weeks. And every 2 weeks on this day and on this day, this is how much money comes in. All right. And from there, you have an itemized list. This is what goes out. I have to pay rent. I have to pay a car note. I have to pay childcare, whatnot. I have to pay groceries. I have to pay my internet bill, what have you, whatever your expenses are. And what you do is you do the envelope method. You take out the cash that you need and always pay yourself first. That means when the money comes in, because guess what? Uncle Sam takes his money first. The tax man, IRS, Internal Revenue, the central bank, they make sure they get a piece of your money before you do. So stop letting everybody else have a piece of your money before you do. And then at the end of the month, you're wondering what happened to all the money. So if, let's say, $2,000 a month, let's say you only have $2,000 a month coming in. You take off the top 10%, that's yours to keep. So immediately take 10% out of that check. 10% if you get $1,000, take your 10% out and put it in a sock. Put that sock under your mattress. Boom. Start there. And then with the rest of the money, you take out the cash you need. You set aside your money that you need to pay for your rent or your mortgage or what have you. Then you take and you get little envelopes. This is how much money I have to spend in my budget for my groceries. I have, $100 or $200 to spend on groceries, and this has to be for this 2-week period or this month period. And I cannot spend any more than that. Do not slide your debit card. Do not slide your credit card. If it's outside of that budget, if it's outside of that envelope, you don't spend it. Period. If it's not in the budget, it doesn't get bought. Period. And you have to be strict like this. And people always, maybe it's a Cancerian thing, but, people are like, you're never broke. I'll tell people, I don't have it. I have it. Because in my mind, if it's not in the budget, I can't do it. And these are ways that you learn how to get in the game. We're just trying to get you on the board so that you have your $200 when you pass go. And that's what happens in Monopoly. Every time you pass go, you get $200. Well, that's your job. Every 2 weeks, you get your little paycheck. And so what you do with that paycheck is up to you. So if you're tricking it off on all this needless stuff, you're getting your hair done, you're getting your nails done, you're getting sneakers, you're getting alcohol, you're getting this, you're getting that, you're getting things that you really don't need. When it comes time to invest in real estate and stocks and invest in companies and do large things so that you can really get in the game, you can't do it. So if it's not in the budget, it does not get bought. Period. So you have your envelopes, what you have to pay for your food, what you have to pay for your gas bill or your water bill or your electricity or your cable or your internet or whatever, your grooming, your car. You set aside your little bit of money for your oil changes or whatever your form of transportation is. That may be, taking the train every day, what have you. But you have these little envelopes and you carry cash, because what tends to happen psychologically when we go into stores and you don't have a budget, you'll just get shit you don't even need. You'll be, oh, that's cute, let me get this. You don't even need that. And if you're doing that month in and month out over a lifetime, over 30 years, you may have tricked off thousands of dollars that could have been used in an investment. You could have invested in some stocks and really ball out. But you've tricked it off on shit you don't need. Just say no to credit cards and store cards, i.e. Victoria's Secret cards, Foot Locker cards, Home Depot card. You don't need any of those cards. Revolving consumer debt credit cards, cut them. What they say, you need to cut it. Cut them. You don't need them. Keep one credit card for emergencies. One. And that's for an emergency. That means, you got thrown in jail or something and you need, you just need this $5,000 or $2,000 or what have you. But use one emergency credit card. You may need it for rental cars and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But promptly pay off the balance each month. You don't want to have credit cards that are carrying balances every month. And you definitely don't want to carry credit cards that are maxed out. Meaning if they said, here's a credit card, Bonnie borrower, we're going to give you this credit card that has a limit of $3,000. And you immediately go out and you go to the mall and you buy up, you buy a flat screen and you buy this and you buy that. And next thing you know, you've borrowed $3,000. So now you have to pay back the $3,000. But guess what? You have to pay back the $3,000 plus interest. And the interest rate on most consumer credit cards is out of control. And that is by design. And that's designed for some people who you'll never meet. You'll never see their faces. But guess what? They're living off that interest rate. That's how they buy their yachts. That's how they buy their new houses and their new cars and their jewelry and their mink and fur coats off of people like you. So you don't want to become a victim of that game. So to avoid that, don't even get credit cards. Now, I understand if you faced bankruptcy or you're trying to build your credit. Good things that build your credit are a mortgage, a home mortgage. That's a good form of debt, because that's something you're going to pay it every month. It should be high on your priorities. Or a car note. You may need a car wherever you live. You may not be able to use a bike or the train or the bus or Uber everywhere. You may need a car. So, and I'm going to talk about that for a second. I'm going to talk about these car loans in a second. But bottom line is, you want to be smart about where you're just hanging your credit out there, because in the end, it's going to come back to bite you. And every time the more credit you have out there, yes, in the short term, it raises your credit rating, it raises your credit score. But if you have too much out there and you can't realistically pay it off, or let's say later you want to go and buy a house, they're going to look at your credit and look at your debt to income ratio and see, okay, they have this amount of money coming in and they only have, well, they have all these different credit cards and they have all these different creditors that they owe, and they only have this little bit of money coming in. Well, that's not a good candidate. Denied. That's why a lot of people don't get small business loans. That's part of the reason. There are other factors that affect that, but that's one factor. So when it comes time for you starting your own business, you want to be you want to be liquid and you want to be debt free. So ask yourself what you really need. If you don't need it, don't buy it. Learn delayed gratification. Delayed gratification. That means if you really want something, let's say you go to the mall or you're shopping online and you just see these sneakers that you really want, or that tennis bracelet, or that necklace at Tiffany's, you really gotta have it. You really want it. Give yourself 2 weeks to just cool down and think about it and sleep on it and take a cold shower, and then really go within and ask yourself, do I really need these sneakers? Do I really need that necklace from Tiffany's or that tennis bracelet? Or do I really need it? Ask yourself what you really need. And if you don't need it, again, if it's not in the budget, it doesn't get bought. Do you really need name brand anything or everything? Does everything need to be name brand? Some of the brokest people I know, just broke. They don't have any money in the bank. They don't own anything. They don't have any assets. They don't own a house. They don't own a business. But they have all these designer name brands on. Name brand from head to toe, dangling diamonds from head to toe, and broke and bankrupt. That's not the way to play Monopoly in real life. The real bosses, the real people who own Park Place and Boardwalk and Tennessee Ave and Baltic Ave, and they own the utility companies and the railroads, and they're turning those greenhouses into red hotels. They're driving regular Volvos and Subarus and Volkswagens, and they're wearing dad jeans, and they're wearing New Balances, if that. They're real plain Jane. Every time you see Mark Zuckerberg, he has on a plain t-shirt, some plain jeans. Every time you saw Steve Jobs, he had on a plain black, that same black turtleneck, his dad jeans, and some regular sneakers. Didn't even have a name on them, some New Balances or something. Same thing with Bill Gates, same thing with Warren Buffett. When you see these extremely wealthy personalities, they don't have a need to broadcast all these loud name brands and designer names on everything, because guess what? They really have the wealth. And so there's something psychological, I think, that happens with people who feel the need to look like they have more than they actually have. But that's neither here nor there. Learn how to determine your net worth. Consolidate your debt and begin paying everything off that you owe. Smallest to largest debt. So that means your net worth is basically how much money you have to your name. So you look at all the money that you have in the bank, all the cash that you have, all of the assets that you own. Assets, not liabilities. Some things can be seen as an asset, but they're actually liabilities. For instance, if you own a home, if you were to liquidate that home and sell that home, what would you be left with? How much cash would you be left with? If you own gold or silver or jewelry, diamonds, things like that, artwork, very valuable artwork. If you were to liquidate that and sell that, how much money would you have? Your job, the money that you've made from your income. Take all that money in and subtract everything that you owe. So whatever you owe, subtracted from what you have liquid, is your net worth. But your net worth it's a little bit more than that. It's because they trade our value on the stock market. Because some people are worth more, have a higher net worth than others. People who are in their youth, the millennials, if you're between the ages of 21 and I'd say 45, you pretty much are at your highest net worth in terms of you're able to earn as much money as you're ever going to make. When you're 13 years old or you're 12 years old, you really can't earn any money, theoretically. When you're 69 or 72 or 85, you really can't earn any money. You're pretty much, retired, or you're too old to really do anything. So they look at those years between 21 and say 45. That's your greatest net worth, because that's when you're able to go out and command income and bring in and pay a lot of taxes and pay into Social Security and pay into Medicare, things like that. So again, learn how to determine your net worth and know that number intrinsically in your mind. You don't have to tell me or anyone else, but know it in your mind. Consolidate your debt, get everything together and say, how much do I owe, and start to pay these people off. Okay. And when I say smallest to largest, that means if you have a credit card, credit card for say $2,000 or $3,000, go ahead and start paying that off and doubling and tripling your payments. That means, let's say you're paying the minimal payment each month. Well, what you do is you pay that payment, but you find a way, instead of again spending that $100 or $200 out eating or Starbucks Frappuccino and things you don't need, take that additional cash now that you're saving and double up on your credit card payments. And boom, you're going to pay that off in half the time. You probably be done paying it off in a year or 2 or 3, depending on how much, money you're throwing at it. But just throw money at it until it's paid off. And now once that's paid off, that $2,000 debt is paid off. Say, for instance, this is just an example. Let's say you have another credit card, or let's say you have student loans out for, let's say you owe maybe $20,000 in student loans. So now you take the amount of money that you were already paying on that student loan, continue to pay that, but now take the money that you would have been paying on that $2,000 credit card debt and now start throwing that money at that student loan. So in addition to the money that you were already paying each month on that student loan, you're now going to start throwing additional payments every month at that debt. And you do that so forth and so on until you pay everything off. For most people, their largest debt is going to be either their car note or their house, or both. And so once you've paid off all the little things, your little debts, your smaller ones, now you just keep doubling, you compound. Remember, I talked earlier about compound interest and compounding your money. You start to compound your payments. Before long, you'll get to your mortgage or your car note. And now instead of just paying, $800 or $500 or $1,000, whatever you're paying, you can now double that and triple that. And you're going to start paying that off a lot faster. And remember, you're throwing your money at the principal, not the interest. So that means you tell them, look, I want to apply more payment towards the principal and not the interest, because a lot of times you're paying a lot of interest because they're looking at how long it's going to take you to pay this off. But guess what? You win. You win once you pay down that principal. Once you pay down that principal, the interest begins to come down as well. So follow me, stay with me. I'm getting there. Blue chips, green houses, red hotels, playing Monopoly in real life. So here's some of the rules of the game. Number 1, And I'm going to run through these real fast, and I'm going to let you all go and enjoy the rest of your day. Number 1, never keep all your money in one bank. Never keep all your money in one bank. Write these down if you have to. Always keep mattress money. That means diversify your cash. Diversify your cash. Do not keep all your eggs in one basket. Because what happens if someone comes and steals that basket? You're broke, you lose. You can't buy into Park Place or Baltic Avenue or anything on the Monopoly board. What happens if your bank account collapses tomorrow? What happens if they have a trip in the system and they say, oh, sorry, we had to freeze your account? It happens every day. Trust me. Don't think that it cannot happen to you. So do not, never, ever, 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 ever keep all your money in one bank. Always keep some mattress money, some cash. Smart people do. Number two, never loan cash to friends or family unless you don't expect to see that money back ever again. Now, if you don't mind parting with that $500 or $1,000, then loan it out. But from my experience, loaning money out tends to be a wedge that comes between friendship and families. And I've seen a lot of families fragmented into pieces over money. And so to avoid that problem and to avoid that headache, just don't even loan it out. Number 3, never co-sign for anyone. Expect the worst. Okay? Expecting the worst is going to enable you to properly plan. I always say, hope for the best, hope for it, pray for it, intention it, envision it, visualize it, but prepare for the worst. A car loses value as soon as you drive it off the lot. So what happens when you co-sign on a car for someone? Number 1, why couldn't they purchase that car by themselves? That already tells you they are a liability. So what happens if they crash that car? You have to pay that note. What happens if they get that car impounded? You have to pay for it. It goes on your credit. Now your credit is fucked up because you decided to co-sign for somebody. What happens if you co-sign for your boyfriend or your girlfriend and you guys break up? Guess what? You have to pay that car note. Now your credit is screwed up because you love your boo. So to avoid that, again, never co-sign for anyone. Whether it's a car, whether it's an apartment, never co-sign for anyone. Number 4, don't take financial advice from broke people. Number 5, create at least 5 ongoing, consistent forms of income. I.e., if you have to, get a roommate. Side hustles, bake stuff and sell it. What do you know how to do? Or what do you know how to make? Which will net some income? Do you know how to work on cars? Do you know how to cut hair? Do you know how to do hair? Do you know how to make websites? Do you know how to create logos, graphic design, videographer? What do you know how to do that somebody will pay you for? Start hustling. Hustle. Bring in at least bare minimum 5 sources of income. But if you really want to get on this Monopoly board, you want to have 5 active sources of income, meaning 5 things that you're doing that's bringing in money every month, and 5 things that it's passive income is coming in. That's things like real estate, royalties, residuals. Can you do voiceovers? Can you act so that you'll get checks from that? Writing books, things of that nature, residuals, royalties, mailbox money, but 5 sources of income, multiple sources of income. Number 6, learn to make less of your income taxable. That means create an LLC, incorporate yourself, and put all of your assets in your businesses So if you own a house, you want to now quit claim that house over to your LLC or your corporation. Your cars, whatever you own, any of your assets, you want to start to put them into your trusts. And you even want to set up trusts for your children, so that in the event that something educate yourself on these things, people. In the event that something happens to you, all the hard work that you've done and the money you've earned, now it can't be touched by the tax man. And or if someone decides to sue you, they can't sue you and take your house from you or bankrupt you, because that now is tied up in a whole different instrument and entity. This is how you play Monopoly in real life, people. Buy real estate. I talked about that in the last talk, so I'm just going to touch on it lightly. Buy real estate. Greenhouses turn into red hotels. So you start off with one house or a condo or a townhouse. Again, buy that, rent it out, use that money to buy another greenhouse. Buy that greenhouse, pay it off. You can either flip it, meaning you could, buy really cheap real estate, fix it up, sell it, take that cash, buy another one. And you keep doing that until you're eventually able to get red hotels. Red hotels meaning larger parcels of real estate that are going to bring you more money every month. All right? Monopoly, people. Learn the difference between fixed rate mortgages and adjustable rate mortgages. Learn the difference between 30-year versus 15-year mortgages. 15-year mortgages are a lot more beneficial because you can pay that house off in a shorter amount of time. And the sooner you own it outright, now again, it becomes an asset. Don't count on retirement. Number 7, don't count on retirement. Don't count on retirement. It's better to go ahead and learn how to invest. Don't count on Social Security. Learn to buy up the board. Social Security is not guaranteed to any of us. None of these socialist entitlement programs are guaranteed, because if the government collapses tomorrow, that money is gone. There's nothing there. God forbid, again, knock on wood, say prayers, send up your burnt offerings or whatever you need to do, but prep for the worst. Because history has shown us, this government will collapse. It's done it before. And so that's just the way it works. Everything is cyclical. Everything moves in cycles. So you have to be prepared, so you're not looking like Willie Lump when that time comes and you're left out in the cold, standing in the bread line, begging. Number 8, educate yourself on stocks, bonds, mutual funds, futures, and options. I'm not going to go into details right now. I don't have the time to do it. Start with Google. Google is your friend. Google stocks, bonds, mutual funds, futures, and options. And then you can make your way to the library and or the bookstore or Amazon.com and start to educate yourself. Invest in other markets. Number 9. Think rupees, yen, pounds, francs, pesos, marks, liras. Invest in gold, silver, things that can't lose value. Know what an IPO is, initial public offering, and how can that work for you? Understand dividends. Stocks are pieces of the corporate pie. So when you buy stocks or shares, you own a slice of the company. So I would rather go buy shares in Nike than go buy a pair of Nike, because my shares now I can liquidate and cash those in later, and I can eat off that, as opposed to, and Nike can send me a check as opposed to me stroking a check and paying $200 or $300 for a pair of Nike that are going to lose value as soon as I put them on and start wearing them. Okay. Now, blue chips are the most valuable. Think poker. These are the most valuable stocks. Think AT&T, General Electric, the multinational, international companies and brands that have shown a proven history of doing well in terms of value, year in and year out. You know, chances are Coca-Cola isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Starbucks probably isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Number 10, learn to read stock tables. You know how to read everything else, so learn to read stock tables. I know they didn't teach you this in school. I know. They didn't teach me either. Learn to read stock tables. Remember, Google is your friend. Start with Google. And the New York Stock Exchange. Understand it. Learn it. Pick it apart. So, for instance, I keep Philip Morris, the cigarette company, the tobacco company, Philip Morris, Apple, and I think Uber. I keep their performance and what's going on with their stocks on my notifications on my phone. So every day, 2 or 3 times a day, the notification will come across what's going on with Philip Morris and Apple. Is it up? Is it down? So, you know, I'm aware. But number 11, learn to spot trends and evaluate companies. Learn to spot trends and evaluate companies. Again, certain companies are tried and true and they won't be going anywhere anytime soon. But you also have to know how to look at some of these newer emerging companies and get in, you know, you have to get in on the ground floor, okay, before the companies blow up. Think companies like Airbnb, Spotify, Snapchat, Uber. So timing is everything. The trick to making money is to buy a stock before others want it. Buy stock before others want it and sell it at market price. So you have to be a visionary. You have to see things other people don't. And you have to use your gut instinct. And you have to be able to say, don't go with what the masses are doing, because the masses usually don't know what the hell is going on anyway. So you have to think, use your gut, you know, use your instinct, but you have to see things that other people don't see. You have to have vision. And so the betting itself is what influences the outcome of most shares, the stock prices, the shareholders, what they earn and what they have to pay. Ultimately, you want to learn to stop trading your time for money. That's how to win the game. You win the game when you learn to stop trading your time for money and you start making your money work for you and not your hard earned time, because, you know, we can't get our time back. So you want to learn to stop trading time for money by making your money work for you. Think of the monopoly board not only as your country. A lot of times we just look at our country, we look at the dollar, we look at what's going on in our little neck of the globe, but educate yourself on emerging technologies and opportunities in Tokyo, in Sydney, in Singapore, in Hong Kong, in Johannesburg, in London. You have to know what's going on around the world. You have to think global, international. That's how you play Monopoly in real life. You have to learn to track international markets, because you can't invest in international markets. Just like a lot of the Chinese, they invest in American markets. And it just, there's no limit. And now the way the world is connected, there's no reason for you to just stay in your little pocket when you can be expanding and learning how to really get this money. Okay? Educate yourself on interest rates, because once you're a boss, you'll start getting paid regular interest payments and mailbox money, checks, money in the bank in your sleep. And you'll be able to survive and retire on interest that people are paying into things that you've invested in, versus paying interest on credit cards and paying interest on, you know, loans and debt. Learn how to make interest work for you. That's why it's called interest, because it's benefiting and it's to someone's interest. Be lenders, not borrowers. Be lenders. Number 14, educate yourself on treasury bonds, T-bills by any other name, T-bills. Educate yourself on notes and bills, municipal bonds, and corporate bonds. Again, Google, start with Google. I don't have time to cover all of this. And lastly, number 15, educate yourself on hedge funds. This is for the high rollers, the gamblers, because hedge funds and hedge funders, I should say, are what kind of contributed to the last real estate debacle, the real estate bubble, or the Great Recession, because of some of the hedge funds. And the hedge funds also benefited from that recession. So understand, every time there's a recession or a depression, somebody is benefiting. They're winning. They're making a whole lot of money. Instead of crying about it and being a victim of it, you can learn how to play the game too, so that you can win, and not only win, but help others and pull others up out of the muck and mire and out of the gutter, and teach them how to win like you're winning. So again, blue chips, greenhouses, red hotels, learn to play Monopoly in real life. Peace and blessings. I will see you next week. Let's start winning. Let's really start getting this money, people. All right. I love you.
I would like to talk for just 1 minute to the students about your future when you leave here. Play along with me in a little game for just a second. Think for a moment that I granted you the right to buy 10% of one of your classmates for the rest of his or her lifetime. And I gave you an hour to think about it. Which one are you going to pick? Are you going to give him an IQ test? Pick the one with the highest IQ? I doubt it. Are you going to pick the one with the best grades? I doubt it. You're not even going to pick the most energetic one necessarily. You're the one that displays the most initiative. But you're going to start looking for qualitative factors. And that would be the person who was generous and honest and who gave credit to other people for their own ideas. All kinds of qualities like that. And you could write down those qualities that you admire in this other person, whoever you admire most in the class. As you looked at those qualities on the left and right-hand side, there's one interesting thing about them. It's not the ability to throw a football 60 yards. It's not the ability to run the 100-yard dash in 9.3. It's not being the best-looking person in the class. They're all qualities that if you really want to have the ones on the left-hand side, you can have them. I mean, they're qualities of behavior, temperament, character that are achievable. They're not forbidden to anybody in this group. So I would suggest that if you write those qualities down and think about them a little while and make them habitual, you will be the one that you want to buy 10% when you get all through. And the beauty of it is you already own 100%. You're stuck with it, so you might as well be that person as somebody else. Well, that's a short one.